Okay, in this lecture, we're going to look at how to create a macro that just automatically does a bunch of formatting to a cell. So let's just say that you have a situation where you have a headline that is always supposed to have the same formatting. So for instance, it says name, and we hit Shift Enter, and we go to our Home tab, and we want it to be bold, and we want it to have a border on the bottom. We want the text to be a dark blue and a larger size. We want it centered, and we want the column width to be a specific width, let's say 12. That's a lot of formatting to have to do every time you want to do a cell like this. So instead of doing it like that, we can create a macro for it. So let's go ahead and go over here, and we'll recreate this, but we'll do it as a macro, okay? So we can just start with some text in here. Again, Control Enter to stay in the same cell. Then we go to Developer, click on Record Macro, and we'll call this Headline Formatting. And let's create a shortcut key for it. We'll call it Control-Shift-F, which as you can see is an uppercase F. And then let's describe it. Actually, I'm sorry, let's call this heading, not headline. And then we'll just say it formats headings in bold, blue, and centered. Okay, we hit OK to start recording, and now we're recording. We go up to our Home tab, and the important thing is that we stay within the cell that we started with. So we go bold, we increase the size, we do our underline, we do our blue, we go change our column width to 12, hit Enter. Oh, and we center it. Okay, so that's our macro. Staying in the same cell, we go back to Developer and say Stop Recording. And now, if we have a bunch of headings, and we want to format all of them, we can either highlight one of them and say Control-Shift-F, or let's say we have a few of these and then we have Bob over here. We can go select this one and press Control, select this one and this one. So we've selected all the cells that we want to format. We say Control-Shift-F, and you see we've got all of them formatted just with that click of a button. So you could do this with a whole bunch of cells. Let's say we just had couple cells like this, and we'll autofill these across. And we also have some cells over here. We can select all of these. We can hold Control and select all of these. So we have all the cells selected that we want to format. Control, Shift, F, and presto, they're all formatted just how we want. Now you'll notice that Wednesday is cut off because we only made these a width of 12 or 89 pixels, but that was the formatting that we chose. If we needed to adjust it to say, to automatically do 15, then we would just record a new macro that made it whatever we wanted. But you can see how handy that would come in to just format a whole bunch of things with one click of a button. The important thing to remember is when you're recording your macro, you start in one cell and you stay in that cell. If you start moving around to different cells, then your macro is going to also move from cell to cell, and it's going to get really confused, okay? And then one other thing to keep in mind is that when you've done formatting with a macro, you cannot click the Control-Z button to undo it. If I do that, well, I can undo the cell width or column width that I just did manually. But if I hit Control-Z again, here it gives me that error chime because I can't undo formatting that I've done with a macro. Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind. In order to undo this formatting, you'd have to manually go in, select it, and change it to no border, no bold, smaller font, etc. Okay? But you can create a macro like this to do all kinds of different formatting to save yourself time with repetitive formatting that you have to do over and over.